We back on your screens njengenjwayelo sine content evuthayo. Today the Queer Talk crew is at Constitutional Hills in Braamfontein to have a conversation with the Thami Foundation about safe sex for all. Grab your pens and papers and join us inside.
What is safe sex? For me, safe sex is around not only just protecting yourself from perhaps infections and things like that, but also how to pleasure, how to have pleasure around sexual, what's pleasure for you, what's pleasure for your partner or partner. So the idea is that like things like loop and things what you mentioned, which is called the dental dam, which is something that was introduced where it's people, it's sort of like it's a barrier method thing that can be used between two women. And that in itself, again, it also sort of like developed this notion that it's for lesbian identifying women or bisexual women. And that if you look at the dental dam, how it is and what it's used for, it basically can be used between two people. It can be between men and a woman, and men can use it on a woman in terms of sexual pleasures orally, or two men can use it if they want to do rimming, for instance. So we need to sort of like talk about all these things, these tools, dental dams, your finger cards, your condoms, your lube, as a whole package for whoever wants to use this can use it to make their sex life more safer. What do we mean by sexual pleasures? I think sexual pleasure is basically around what people can do with their body parts to experience pleasure, gratification. It's around your relationship and connection you have with your own body. Where, I think when you talk about human sexuality in general, for instance, look at it this way, human sexuality is quite broad. Like, think of 4 areas of what makes up your human sexuality. The first part of your human sexuality would be your biological sex. Now here I'm talking about what's between your legs, when you're born. The first place we look as a family, we look between the legs because we're conditioned to think we need to know what's between the legs so that we can know how to respond to you. From what name we give you, from what clothes you have to dress, and from how the expectations we should have from you, based on what you have between your legs. So that's your biological sex. So basically, typically, we have say you are male or female or intersex. Then you look at like the second area of human sexuality, so we're talking about gender now. And there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding or misconception around what is sex and what is gender. And it's 2 different things where sex is more around biology, about what you have between your legs. And when you think about gender is around the social constructions and expectations. So society looks at what you have between your legs, and society wants to say, because you have this between your legs, you must act in a certain way. And that's what gender comes in. Because if you further split gender, under gender you get what we call a gender identity and also a gender expression. So your gender identity would be, typically, I think the most commonly used ones will be a gender identity of either being a man, or being a woman. That's the binary of gender identity. So do you identify as a man or a woman? Some people might say neither by gender or I'm gender-non-conforming, But typically a lot of people will say identify as a man or identify as a woman. And when you think about gender identity, is around your own idea of the self. It's about how you feel about yourself, how you identify yourself as. So typically society will say, because you're male, therefore your gender identity must be man. Because you're female, therefore your gender identity must be woman. And for some people it's like that, but some people it's not really like that. Some people can be male-bodied, but then their gender identity could be something else. Do you get what I mean? So, and then you get the expression part of gender. Now, where we're talking about things like masculine or feminine, or androgyny, a bit of both, So what are you? Like, what's expression? Are you masculine or are you feminine? And then thirdly, you have sexual orientation. Now here we're talking about attraction. Who are you attracted to? On more than one level, of course, not only just about sex. Who are you physically, emotionally, intellectually? Some people might like them physically, but they open their mouth and you're like, never mind, So it's about, when you talk about sexual attraction, you're talking about who do you want to build a life with. And just to name a few, within sexual orientation will be like heterosexuality, which is when you are attracted to the opposite sex of yours, or bisexuality, which is me to attracted to both men and women, or homosexual, which is attracted to same-sex people. That's where you get your gays and lesbians. So that's sexual orientation. It's around attraction. And then you get the last one, which is I think is one of the point about this conversation, which is around sexual pleasures. So number 1 was sex, 2 is gender, 3 is sexual orientation, number 4 is your sexual pleasures. Now all these 4 areas, they make up your human sexuality. So now when we come into the sexual pleasures, like I said, it's around your relationship with yourself, your body, relationship maybe you also have with other bodies in terms of like sexual pleasure, sexual gratification, enjoyment in terms of like what these body parts do. And we've got different kinds of body parts that people use for sexual pleasures. And most commonly people might say vagina, penis, the anus, and even in there, because if I ask a question a lot of times, list me body parts that people use for sexual pleasures. Typically people go vagina and penis, and they stop there, and I'm like, okay, give me more, and then they throw in breasts, and then they throw in hands. Nobody wants to go to the anus, and I'm like, but why is it so difficult to talk about the anus as a sexual pleasure thing? And people go like, no, the anus, then the stigma comes out. Well, why is it so difficult to talk about sexual, the sexual pleasures of the anus? And it's because there's a lot of stigma around anal sex, because anal sex has been assumed as a gay thing. And that's where the problem comes. And what I found so disturbing around when they talk about anal sex, a lot of times people don't even protect themselves when it comes to anal sex. Because if you think about it, messages of safety around sexual pleasures and of safe sex is focused with penis and vagina. Nobody talks about the anus. And why? It's because people are uncomfortable talking about anal sex, because somebody decided that anal sex is sodomy laws, it's sinning, it's immoral, it's all those kind of things. But then kids are engaging in anal sex. And if you're not talking about it, when they engage in anal sex, they do it unprotectedly. And and in the health sector, we know that unprotected anal sex with ejaculation is the highest risk of contraction.
There you go, free education for all. I've definitely been schooled. I hope it's the same for you. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. From the colorful nation to you, TTFN.